Today on Doomed! Reunited and it feels so good. Yeah! That was a suggestion from a listener, Joanna, on Twitter just moments ago, because today on the show, everyone, my pal slash arch nemesis, Michael Brooks of The Michael Brooks Show, which is what you mainly know him from, and then this other small little production known as The Majority Report. I'm going to pull him up live and introduce him on the show right now. Let's get him up on the screen so you could see. Here we are. Everyone, Michael Brooks. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Whoa, breaking up there, but what is that from? Wu-Tang, right, word. Wait. Do that again? I had your sound down by accident. You're up now.
You know that? You know that one? That's from Wu-Tang Forever.
Ah.
That's classic, brother.
All right, well.
Reunited, double LP, world excited. But why, I mean, I can see for you, it might be like great pal slash, like for me, it's like, I don't know, great pal slash occasional irritant.
Ooh.
But I'm arch nemesis.
Right. Well, I mean,
that's intense.
I mean, on the Majority Report, we had a repertoire of going back and forth, which was purely, people may not know this, but that was purely for the show. It was like pro wrestling style.
You know what? That was literally purely for the show, and I actually was really funny when like people would be like, "I think there's something going." Like those guys, you know, they hate each other.
Right.
And we would just be like, you know, like joking around. That was pretty funny.
Right. Oh boy, Michael, your connection, man, is very poor, but that's okay. We'll make it through. We'll make it through.
Look. Give me a second, and I'll relocate.
Oh yeah.
The light won't be as good. Just give me. All right, I'll call you right back.
All right, cool. Everyone, Michael's gonna take a break. I will remove this.
Vamp for a second.
All right, yep. Let me put up a. Yeah, we'll take a second here. I'll talk with you guys for a bit, and we'll do like a. I don't know. What do I got here? I'm not gonna play any music because then I'll get copyright stricken. But Michael's relocating. We'll cut this out of the podcast version, and everything will be great. Michael will sound better. Michael will look better because he'll be in poorer light, so you'll see him a lot less. And all right, let's go to let's see what's People are losing their mind over a bit of news I want to say for the show, though. So I'm not going to bring that up on the live stream because I'm going to cut this all out right now while Michael relocates and then calls me back. But you know, I was very happy to see Michael shout out that he's going to be on the show earlier today on the Majority Report. It was Renee on this regular listener Renee over here on the YouTube live stream is saying Queen's Pride over Crooklyn, and I will shout that out because he's clearly talking about my location in Queens and Michael's location in Brooklyn. And I don't know what's going on over where Michael is living, where the Wi-Fi or the high-speed internet or broadband access isn't as good. Here we go. He's calling me back. Let's see. Yo. Okay. Oh my God, that's like a completely.
All right.
I feel like I should just start the show over, but no, we're good. Everybody, okay. Michael Brooks. The light is barely I barely notice a difference. You look just as good.
You know what, dude? Literally, you know, it's kind of. I actually, I'm still like, I'm in a new. I literally forgot another lamp in this room that I can turn on, so it's totally fine.
All right, cool. So before we get started here, I have to, for old time's sake, just crack open.
I have my herbal tea. It works.
So it's
Exactly.
for people who don't know, just listen to this show, which I doubt it, or just got into the Majority Report after I was far gone. Michael and I used to host pretty much every other Monday on the Majority Report, and we'd call it Matt and Mike Mondays, Eminem Mondays.
Eminem
And
Mondays.
this is Matt and Michael, but it is not Monday. But, I'm glad you're on the show today because I'm looking through. Well, I mean, we're going to have to figure out what to talk about because I'm looking through what happened in, not even just this past week, just today. And, I'm struggling to get excited. I mean, Roger Stone was arrested. Boring. The government shutdown ended and Trump basically, caved like a child. I mean, yawn. There's a coup going on. There's a coup going on in Venezuela, and I mean, if I was a cartoon character, you'd see the Z's coming out of my mouth. I mean, not much to talk about.
True.
But I think we should talk about. I do want to talk about the Roger Stone thing up front because it just happened today, and we could talk about it. Not too long because I mean everyone else was addicted to talking about it today, but Roger Stone is somebody I've talked about on this program before. He is, I would say, mostly known to this generation probably as the InfoWars guy.
Right. Yeah.
He had a role to play in the Nixon campaign, I should say. His name appears in Watergate. He has a documentary about him on Netflix called Get Me Roger Stone. He was Donald Trump's first campaign manager, and in fact, for a long time was pushing Donald Trump to run for president. In fact, I was thinking, if you want to talk about Roger Stone and his relationship to Trump, there really is nobody probably more loyal to Trump than Roger Stone. I feel like you should play, and he was there from the beginning. I feel like you should play that that Drake song in the background, like "Where the fuck were you all?" Roger Stone, when Kelly Conway came in, when Manafort came in, when Bannon came in, when all these motherfuckers came in, as Trump was already, making his way to the top of the Republican primaries, Roger Stone was there way before telling him to run.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I think Mark Ames had a tweet today though saying like, Roger Stone has basically been some form of like, sleazebag sociopath who's like interfered in campaigns and done just abysmal shit for decades, and he was treated as like, oh, look at this like lovable weirdo, like he's a Republican but he's into swinging, like isn't that interesting? And it's yeah, right. But it's like, you go back to the 1980s, right? And that firm that Manafort and Stone co-founded, where they were like actually one of the biggest like press shops and lobbying firms in Reagan's America in the 80s and Reagan's Washington. And they lobbied for basically every single dictator, right-wing dictatorship, mass murdering regime you could imagine, from Latin America to Africa. And of course, the Reagan administration supported, people like Joseph Savimba and who ran UNITA in Angola and buried people alive. There's that crazy shit. I don't know if you've ever seen this, but the thing that Jack Abramoff, when he was young, like in the 80s, he organized like the Global Summit, and I think they did it in Angola. It wasn't called the Global Summit, but it literally was like all of the right-wing groups that the Reagan administration was backing. So there was like a summit with Contras, Mujahideen, UNITA, and they were all like, it's wild. I mean, it was like Woodstock for fascists. And like Roger Stone. So like that's the thing that's kind of funny about Roger Stone to me, is it's like, on one hand, he's this hilarious character. Like, I even had a brief interaction with him once, which is like, I mean, it was nothing, but it was like this guy, before he was banned on Twitter, for some reason, he followed me on Twitter. And I followed him back, obviously, just out of curiosity. But like,
oh, hell yeah, you followed him.
Right.
Like, it's Roger Stone.
Fucking Roger Stone. But I never interacted with him. And then one day, like, you remember like how during the primary, like, people like Kasich would be like, Donald Trump is Hitler. And they'd be like, oh, so if he gets a nomination, you're going to like not support him, right? Because he's whoa, I didn't say that. I just said he's Hitler. So I like tweeted some shit out like, John Kasich says Donald Trump is Hitler, but won't commit to not voting for him. And I immediately get a reply from Roger Stone like, yeah, he's probably still high from all the drugs that he was dealing like back whenever. And I was like, oh, shit. Like, I'm literally like, he's literally trying to like launder some of his like dirty tricks through me on Twitter. That's awesome. Like but I'm saying like, it's kind of a joke, but it's kind of like not a joke. You know what I'm saying?
Right. I mean, there's a part of me that looks at him the same way I look at Alex Jones. Like, here's a guy who I sort of like say, like, with Alex Jones, I go, that guy is an incredible broadcaster. It's too bad.
Oh, yeah.
It's too bad he chose to go down this path. Because if he was doing sports, if he was doing even like your generic conservative type, even like a Rush Limbaugh style, he would be like, that's a guy who knows how to like do what he does. He's really good at it. But unfortunately, he's got this great voice, this great on-air presence, and he uses it to spread Sandy Hook conspiracy theories. And to do terrible stuff like that ends up sending his followers out to harass these poor families who lost their children in a school shooting. So, I mean, with Roger Stone, you look at him and you go, this is a guy who you look at, he dresses goofy. He owns himself being this sort of dirty trickster, which, really, all these political campaign people are dirty tricksters. And then here you have one guy who's just like owning it. So you sort of like, he's telling it. He's like telling you straight up who he is. There's something to respect a little bit about that, but then you find out just exactly what he's doing and who he's doing it for and the types of things he's pushing. He gave Trump the idea for this whole wall from the get-go.
Yep.
I mean, I
think it's more like we should take Roger Stone as an opportunity to disrespect the rest of these people more, not like him more for admitting he's an asshole. You know what I mean?
Right.
It should just be like, yeah, he's a scumbag, like all the rest of these people. It's just that he does a shtick. And I talked to somebody I know, like on the other side, who does strategy, and he was like, Roger Stone was like a pretty normal Republican consultant. And then he chose to like create a shtick for himself because he basically would prefer to be an entertainer.
Someone on the other side, you said?
Like a Republican strategist.
Oh, you want to give a little "Forgive me, Father, for I have sinned" spiel, a la Joe Biden.
Oh right, yeah. I have Republicans that are friends. They're friends of mine. I mean, I love the guy. I'd never vote for him. Maybe that's the difference, right?
Right. So but that is interesting that even they know who Roger Stone is too. I mean, it's not. I mean, maybe not so much interesting, but telling, right?
Everybody knows. It was pretty funny that they actually gave him like the whole SWAT team shit. That was like, whoa.
Right.
He really pissed somebody off.
Right. I love the conservatives though that are all like, wow, sending a SWAT team for a 70-year-old. But like if they were like to send a SWAT team for like some like 16-year-old who got like swatted while playing on Twitch, they'd be like, well, the kid was probably doing something to deserve it,
Or if it was just like a 70-year-old black fill in the blank.
Right, yeah.
Like, well, shit's dangerous. You gotta.
Right.
I mean, it is. That's another amazing thing about the moment is like, that puts people like you and me, I think, in a really uncomfortable position because it's like you have all of these, like I said the other day on the show, because I was talking on my show, I was talking about Patrice Lumumba, who's assassinated by the Belgians and the CIA, and I saw
right. I know exactly who you're talking about.
Yeah, Matt, you used to have a Patrice Lumumba lunchbox. I remember. He made it looked like a WWE guy. He had like little Lumumba glasses, but then he had a fucking toga on. He was called like Kinshasa Man. But no, but I just remember like this resistance tweet that was like, if you're gonna come at the CIA, you best not miss. Like, look out, Mr. Trump. And you're like, the FBI, the CIA, like these groups are not your friend, you fucking idiot. And then on the other hand, the conservatives who like have all these conspiracy theories and all this nonsense, and they're like, it's like all of a sudden they're all concerned about how like the FBI jams people up and the brutality of the criminal justice system. It's just only as applied to like wealthy Republicans who are almost certainly criminals.
Right. Right.
Right. And so it's very frustrating.
Right. No, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh boy. Oh brother. So let's move on from Roger Stone actually, because I would like to talk about the government shutdown ended today. Let's move on to that. Oh well, we should also before we move on from Roger Stone actually, we should mention that he's out on bail. And his little bail literally was he just has to promise to pay $250,000 if he doesn't show up. He didn't have to put up any money up front.
Yeah, it was a little weird.
Right. I'm sure a lot of Black and Latino kids get that deal when they get caught doing some sort of small petty bullshit.
And just even along the class structure.
Yeah.
Nobody like that's incredibly unusual. It's really weird, but I'm sure he's lawyered up.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, I think Roger Stone actually probably does have a little bit of money. Though who knows?
Right.
Well,
right. Well, I mean, he's got. I always thought he just lived in New York because the dude's always talked about living in New York. And all of a sudden. He's getting raided in where was he? His neighbor is Ocho Cinco. Did you see that?
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't see that.
Ocho Cinco tweeted out this morning that I'm going for a jog and my neighbor Roger just got arrested by the FBI.
I knew he had a place in Florida, but I didn't know that. That's funny.
Right. So it pays to be a conservative talker. That's all. Oh, not talker.
I mean,
conservative
like,
campaign guy.
Not even that many years ago, he was paid. I think he was like on retainer for something like at least 20 G's a month by just like the state Republican Party of New York. I mean, yeah, the dude's, and I'm sure he made millions in the 80s. So.
Well, that's true.
And in '96, I mean, dude, this guy worked for Bob Dole. He worked for John McCain. Like. In a way, it's like it serves all these people's purposes to pretend it's like, oh, he's just this fucking wacky guy. But like everything else, it's like, no, dude, you are Trump. You are Alex Jones. That's the Republican Party. Like,
right.
Same shit.
Right. So let's move on to this government shutdown. Because, when I was going to have you on and I posted the show late last night, I thought we'd still be in this thing because, in my view, I thought it was possible that Trump would end it before Tuesday, but I felt if it went past when the State of the Union was supposed to be, I didn't see when this guy would end it because if he wasn't going to end it to give himself TV time, then what would he end it for?
Nothing.
Well,
nothing.
What was that?
Nothing. Totally unfair.
Right. Well, it turns out that apparently someone in the Discord on the Majority Report today. I was watching the show today, Michael.
Wait, I believe. Excuse me. Do you mean the TMBS Discord?
Oh, the TMBS Discord, but
there's another Discord that I'm not familiar with.
The TMBS Discord, but during the Majority Report.
I'm being a dick, but I actually didn't even know. I was like, is there a whole other Discord? Like, wow.
Oh, right.
Wow.
Well,
there's a lot. Yeah.
Anyway, the Discord, in the Discord, someone pointed out that Sam had previously said that the shutdown would end once rich people couldn't fly anywhere. And it seems like Sam was right. Because
I think that's a...
and I saw some people actually attributing this to Nancy Pelosi stopping the State of the Union, which, as an aside, kudos to her for holding the line this whole time. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And then I saw people crediting it to Mueller for friggin' arresting Roger Stone, and I guess they believe that Trump just wanted some sort of press off of him and Stone. That's bullshit.
What?
Yeah, that's bullshit.
That's fucking dumb.
Yeah, the
People
reason
are- that's the dumbest take I've heard. Okay.
the reason though is because so many workers at LaGuardia Airport, air traffic control workers, were calling out sick. That today LaGuardia announced that all flights out of LaGuardia were halted because there weren't enough people working there.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's like, look, props to Nancy Pelosi. I'm glad the Democrats didn't fold, like all of that 100%. But like the bigger picture to me, because I feel like the only relevant lesson for us moving forward is like, I mean, Americans should be striking a lot. And on one hand, like, look, I think it's, you got to be careful about what you advocate for and what you tell other people to do when you're not in a position that other people are in, for sure. So I want to be careful about this. But that being said, America should be going on strike constantly, right? Like, that is something to learn from the French. They get, like, the smallest whiff of some bullshit that the government is going to do, and they just take, we're back on the streets, and, like, and so I think, though, that this does prove the case. Like, the LaGuardia was grounded. The air traffic controllers are like, I don't know. And then immediately the flight attendants are like, look, if the fucking, like, air traffic controller, like, no, we're not going to go up in the air and, like, risk our lives, if the people on the ground can't land us safely. Like, this is ridiculous. But I also think, like, those are the big picture things. But the other thing, too, is, like, the Republicans in the Senate, some of them were just starting to fold, right? Like, you had people, like, including, Cory Gardner of Colorado, like some of the ones that weren't, like, the usual suspects that you'd think, like, oh, okay, maybe like Susan Collins or whatever, or Lisa Murkowski. But I also think that, like, that too should be a reminder, because essentially what they agreed to was what was on the table several weeks ago. Like, this was just a complete, total, unnecessary bullshit crisis. And then, and Mitch McConnell could have ended it at any time. So it's like another thing where it's like, of course, this is Trump's fault, but this is the Republicans' fault. The last thing, too, I think that's important is Corey Robin. I forget, but he tweeted out, which I liked. He said, look, like, this is the second time in a couple of months, like, the Republicans went for it. Like, they went all in on white nationalism in the midterms, and they lost. They lost the House by a historical margin. Trump went all in on white nationalism for this fake crisis for the wall and the government shutdown, and the numbers were bad, and it failed. So, that's a good, like, that's another really positive signal.
Right. Right. No, that's absolutely right. And when you look at, when you look at the MAGA people's reaction to the government shutdown, to Trump ending the government shutdown, well, at least for 3 weeks now, it's hard to not look at this as a complete, like, just, Schadenfreude, like my God, how great is this that they're, the QAnon folks were going apeshit on their little QAnon boards. Ann Coulter said that said something like George H.W. Bush is no longer the wimpiest president. Cernovich is apparently, according to Will Summer of the Daily Beast, who was jumping into that Cernovich stream. He had to clarify for his followers multiple times that he wasn't crying on air, which of course is something you do when you're not crying.
I'm not crying right now.
Right. Of course you're not, Michael.
The fucking what I think was funny, like, I forget. Remember that meme that was like, it was Trump at a debate, like one of those moments where he was just like in peak form, like emasculating Jeb Bush or something, and he's just making that like dumb mean girl face that he makes and doing something with his hands, like what? And it just and it's just like a flashing, and it just goes cock, and
right.
Like, and now but it's great because now it's like on him, and that was why too, like, the way he was just bloviating today, like at that press conference after he just took this huge L, was hysterical. But I think, like, honestly, though, this is another lesson in, yeah, he's crazy. Yeah, like, he's ridiculous. Yeah, it's a white nationalist administration. It's a white nationalist Republican Party. But they can pull the plug on him. Like, they won't usually, because obviously he's still the leader of the party and really popular overall at the base. But, like, this shit could have been done. You know, it would never happen because Mitch McConnell's scumbag. But Mitch McConnell literally could have just said, like, nah, this is dumb. We're going to keep government going. So I just hope, like, people will spread the blame around. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
because, like, people will get, well, I mean, we already know people get too fixated on Trump.
Right. Well, you know, it's, well, even, you know, I just gave credit to Nancy Pelosi about 5 minutes ago. But then I also have to say, come on, Nancy, when I see that that video of hers when she was speaking to, like, some group of, what was it, like mayors or something? I don't know. But just a few days ago, she was saying how, you know, the good Republicans need to come back and take back their party or something because we need a strong Republican, a real strong Republican Party, not this Trump. Yeah, come on. Come on, that's not. This is the Republican Party. This is the Republican Party.
This is it. This is it. And what's so funny is it's like, even if you want to idolize, you know, the whatever, like, I don't know, Rockefeller Republican, like Republicans that don't exist and have been, I mean, a major force in the Republican Party since like at the 60s, you would then it would be like, well, you know who, there are still politicians who are that, and that's like fucking Lincoln Chafee is like, and he's not a Republican anymore. And he's just, you know, just like a weird, nice guy in Rhode Island who likes the metric system. Like,
feel the chafe.
What?
Feel the chafe.
Feel the chafe. Exactly.
Right.
Like, that's what Nancy Pelosi is talking about. And that's not something that's going to be happening anytime in the next, like, anytime in our lifetimes.
Right. Maybe eventually the Republican Party will be utterly, completely annihilated, and Lincoln Chafee's time will come, and he will create that second party that you're just the version of the Republican Party that you're talking about. But of course, it wouldn't be the Republican Party anymore.
No.
Right, but really,
I feel like the suburban Greens.
The suburban Greens, right? But the thing is, like, you know, the Republican Party has been like this for a very long time. Like, if anything, I thank Donald Trump for, obviously I prefer him doing this while not sitting in the White House. But right. he tore the mask off. He grabbed a bullhorn instead of that dog whistle. He's basically unmasking the Republican Party for who they were and have been for I would say as long as I've been alive at the very least.
Definitely. I mean, going back, I mean, the policies have changed, and like definitely, like, obviously we all know that, like, oh yeah, when Nixon was president, he actually, you know, he did some decent things domestically because that was just where the politics were at. But I mean, the reality is like going back to Barry Goldwater, who ran as a frigging, you know, was a far right segregationist, and then, you know, Richard Nixon ran the Southern strategy. We all know who Ronald Reagan is. Ronald Reagan was a far extreme right conservative. I mean, yeah, this is who they are.
Right.
I mean, that's it.
So the government's is back, you know, the government's been opened up again for 3 weeks. What do you think's going to happen in 3 weeks? Because if Nancy Pelosi continues to hold her line and not give Trump that border wall, which again, any progressive who was against Nancy Pelosi earlier, and my stance then was, name someone who's better equipped to do this right now, and I'll get behind them. Because the people who were saying they were going to challenge Nancy Pelosi were to her right. So, I mean, she was.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. No, I mean, of course, I'm not a Nancy Pelosi supporter, but it was, of course, like, no-brainer. Like, of course she was the best choice.
Right.
And she was also the best choice for stuff like this. Like, she does kind of know how to maneuver. But I think, I don't know, dude, because I feel like one part, I mean, obviously, I think, I don't. There's always reports that come out every couple of days, and I'm not really like I don't understand the state of them right now. That he's trying to like go into the military. He's trying to do some form of this like through an executive order, or reallocating funds from like the Army Corps of Engineers or something. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if he tries to do this through some type of executive power, which is a big problem. But on the other hand, I also don't think like I don't know. Like, I just think like Trump is so full of shit, and it's so like it all is about like winning a news cycle and dominating, and he just got so cucked that like I don't know. Like, I feel like the next play is to like basically just go back to the original formula, which is like the wall is being built. Mexico's paying for it. Just say that shit. Just fucking assert it. Because he can lie to that 30%, he can say literally anything to. He can just lie and lie and lie and lie and lie. And then do the other side of the mouth, which is like, I'll tell you folks, like, they don't support me, and like Nancy Pelosi's having a menage a trois with the head of MS-13. And I just think like, but I don't know. And so, like, I'm sure he'll double and triple and quadruple down on it because that's like his core brand, right?
Right.
But I don't know if he really. I mean, look, obviously it's Trump. So Trump literally could next week be like, got wind of the Ann Coulter tweet and feel too emasculated and feel like he needs to start the shutdown again, right? Like, I mean, he's a fucking lunatic. But at the same time, I also feel like to the extent he calculates it all, he doesn't like to, look like a punk and he lose. And this was like, I mean, I didn't think it would work out well for him. And maybe it's also because we're just always used to Democrats being pussies. But it's like, it was amazing to watch. Like, oh, you just lost.
Right.
Like,
right.
Just straight, you just took an L. Like, he didn't even have like some type of like, well, and with the agreement for a joint commission on whatever the fuck. It was just like, nah, you got nothing. Fuck you.
Well,
like Nancy Pelosi, so she rocked it. So I don't really, I guess it's like in 3 weeks, does he want to do the same shit again with even less patience and even more anger? And then there's zero incentive for Democrats not to fold on that? Like,
well, Michael,
I don't know.
Let's end this with my recommending that you read The Art of the Deal, because the answer is probably in there. I mean, this is probably how deals are made, right? I mean, this is like, first you shut down the government, and then you lay all your cards out on the table. You put on your poker face. Your opponent puts out a royal flush, a full house. I don't know. I'm not a big poker player. Whatever the best hand you could possibly have. You fold, and then libs owned. That's simple. That's how it works out.
And then what you do is you go in the Rose Garden and you talk about MS-13. And then you ask.
That was incredible to watch. That was incredible to watch. He goes into the Rose Garden and he starts going like, let me tell you about the percentage of people coming in here. And like, it was some of that stuff was so specific, I feel like, too, if I'm remembering correctly. It was like, this is the number of specifically Guatemalans who were specifically on cocaine when murdering white women under the age of 25.
Here we go here. That's a 10% increase in El Salvadorans.
Right.
Who threw rocks at precious 27-year-old white women. That's a 10% increase.
And by the way, these stats come straight from my good friend Roger Stone. Like, the stats are bullshit to begin with, obviously, but it's just amazing to hear him say this stuff. But Michael, I'm actually seeing in our chat here and on Twitter that people really want us to talk about this because I guess I hit the jackpot. And first, I must thank you for this jackpot win, because it is because of you I'm doing a Doomed live stream on a Friday night. I wanted to have you on the show. You couldn't come on yesterday. You came on today. I appreciate it. And it worked out great because there's a breaking report that Bernie Sanders is prepared to jump into the race. He's going to officially run for president.
Feel the burn.
Now let me just
motherfucker.
Let me just clarify. I don't think from what I'm seeing he has officially ran.
No,
he's officially running, but it seems like
he's gonna do it.
Yeah, I mean,
I gave Warren a couple of weeks to see if she could pull it together, but it looks like the fucking old veteran hitter is gonna have to do it all by himself again. What the fuck?
Now, it's exciting for me because, as you all know, my number one priority in life is to make sure we never have a woman president. And as an addendum to that,
I got into socialist politics and independent media for it's just two basic core motivations. I want every single human being, not just in this country but on Earth, to have high quality health care. And I just never want a woman in executive leadership. I mean,
right. And clearly, if you,
of course not.
Clearly, if you want to stop women candidates from winning the Democratic primary, you go after you put all your support behind the number one guy, the only one who has zero establishment backing, the only one who is a democratic socialist, which means that establishment media will be nagging him about the socialist tagline there. He's clearly the one you jump behind if you want to head off.
You ever wonder to yourself, I mean, it doesn't really matter, but it's interesting, like, if Joe Biden ran in 2016 versus Hillary, I would have just stayed neutral. I mean, I'm sure I would have decided like one day, like when I voted in New York, who I was going to vote for, but I wouldn't. And to be really blunt, I would have said, for reasons that are right and really wrong, like basically a combination of the fact that Biden's a better politician just as like a performer, and also sexism, he's probably a safer bet to be the nominee. That's definitely true. But like, I wouldn't have been like, I would have just totally been sitting back and probably frankly just like criticizing both of them super heavily. Well, and then I always wonder, I'm like, there's so many people that I could think of that I'm like, hey, you know what? If Biden ran against Hillary, they actually probably would have backed Biden. But then like they have this weird fixation on Bernie, and they accuse people of, supporting Bernie for all the wrong reasons. I don't know, man. I think I obviously, I mean, we'll see, but obviously I'm stoked for when AOC can run for president. I think, all of us will support her if that happens, unless something dramatic changes. But like, I'm just so over all this bullshit. It's like, look, Bernie Sanders, he's not perfect. I'm more left-wing than Bernie Sanders. But across the board, on Medicare for all, on a wealth tax, on things that also really matter to me, like, no other candidates talked about the imprisonment of Lula. No other candidates talked about the rise of fascism in Brazil. No one else is willing to have even the most modicum of interest in Palestinian well-being.
Right.
And I think that like you're going to need to say, look, I mean, I put a video out actually on my channel about, I think people have to be really smart about how they focus on Kamala Harris. And I think like it's really easy to acknowledge like that there's a lot that is appealing about her campaign. As I always say, like, who amongst us on some level wouldn't love to see a black woman kill Donald Trump metaphorically in 2020, right? Like that, just on a basic level of if Trump had to wake up and he lost to Kamala Harris and he was just like, oh God, that would be fucking awesome. That would be amazing. Although it would also be amazing if he lost to Julian Castro, because like a Mexican guy who kind of is a little cocky.
How fast can we build that wall?
Right. That would be awesome. But like the bottom line is you're comparing like a incredibly harsh prosecutor with actually an incredibly disturbing record of everything from like imprisoning people on truancy charges. This Bazelon piece in the New York Times on her record is actually mortifying. And again, it's in the New York Times.
Right.
And then a record in the Senate that is, I mean, look, it's It's corporate, centrist, blah, 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 blah. And, the only other thing I put on the table is I really think, like, it's a mistake. I think it's a mistake to make an electability argument because I think the way it's shaping up, probably any of these people could beat Trump right now. Like, right now, at this moment, any of these candidates, I think, would have a great chance of cleaning Donald Trump's clock. And, of course, I'd vote for any of them over Donald Trump. But I think that the question you actually have to ask is longer term, which is like, well, it isn't just Trump. And if you're thinking strategically, we face so many crises and such big problems. Do you want to follow the same pattern that we've been following, where like the most extreme, hateful, far-right, oligarchic Republicans, they take control, they push the country to a catastrophe, then we elect a moderate Democrat who does a few good things, does some really bad things, and just tinkers around the edges, and then the Republicans exploit all of these conditions and lie and steal and cheat and become president again. So I think the bigger question is more like, literally, what do you actually want to have happen in those 4 years? And, because we're really hitting critical breaking points on ecology, on how we deal with the global balance of power, and so to me, it's like the only person that in any type of systemic way scratches the surface of that is Bernie Sanders. It's true. And I get that some people have.
No, it's absolutely true because even if you just listen, I know, I heard that you were talking about Kamala Harris's record, which some parts of town that's considered an attack, Michael. But
and can I just say really quickly, but like I just want to put a fine point on this. I have no doubt that some people, particularly obviously on the right, are going to attack Kamala Harris for racist, sexist, and every other reason. 100%. And not only will I fight against that, I will point that out and have her back. And I'll give her props when she does something that's good. But conversely, like, not only is that a bullshit argument to say talking about her record is an attack, it's actually like so essentialist and disrespectful. I view Kamala Harris as one of the most important figures in national politics and an incredibly formidable opponent, and I take her profoundly seriously, which is why I will take her record seriously and talk about her record. And if you have a problem with that, not only are you, just ridiculous, you're actually disrespecting her because she should be taken seriously, and any serious candidate we interrogate and assess their record. And that goes for all of them. Right. And I'm going to pay more attention to Kamala Harris right now because, frankly, like, I think Kristen Gillibrand ain't going anywhere.
She's not.
I think Cory Booker's not going anywhere.
He's not.
Right. And I think that Joe Biden might, but I think, look, Joe Biden runs – I've already spent more time talking about Joe Biden than Kamala Harris. And also, and people always freak out and have a conniption about the criticizing of Tulsi Gabbard. It's just a different set of people.
Whoa. You're not a fan of Tulsi?
No, I'm not a fan of Tulsi.
I know. Listen, like
I don't want Matt. I don't want a woman president.
Right. Exactly right. It's
has nothing to do with supporting like Hindu fashion.
Right. But it is interesting to just look at how this is playing out because you have all these names jumping in. And I just honestly think that Bernie Sanders is in his own lane. But I do think that in terms of like a general electorate, I know that's not the same people who vote in a primary, but there is some overlap. I think people who just aren't like as into the nitty gritty of this stuff might be, picking between Biden and Bernie, weirdly enough. So that's why I sort of look at Bernie as like a legitimate – I look at Biden as like a legitimate threat.
Enough. Biden. If Biden gets in there, I would say we got to totally kneecap Biden, and that's just there's
literally. I want to see someone on the streets of Scranton with a bat, roaming around looking for Biden.
Joe Biden. There's everything to talk about with Joe Biden. Bankruptcy bill, Iraq, Anita Hill. This guy has a terrible record. I would warn. It's like the same way I would warn certain people to be like, thoughtful about Kamala Harris or any of these candidates. I think that some people like, because we all know that Biden is terrible and he's corporate. I think, though, you shouldn't underestimate the fact that a lot of people really like Joe Biden, and he does have a certain charisma.
Well, the fake
So
Joe Biden as made by the Onion drives a Camaro and is your crazy uncle. What's not to like about the Biden that doesn't exist, Michael?
I think he is. I think he is that way to a lot of people. So but anyways, I just think like, yeah, man. I think there's actually nothing wrong with keeping it pretty focused on like the issues, right? Like look, obviously because of what we do, we'll make fun of people and have characters and shit. But like the bottom line is I would like to have some hope of dealing with the ecological crisis because of like, Matt's young child as an example. Right. I would like to have some hope. I think it's obscene that not everybody has health care. It's obscene that not everybody has housing. And Bernie, again, it's far from perfect, blah, blah, blah. But, I mean, I think he's the only person who's going to get in the White House and tell, Lula needs to be freed now. We are not going to blindly support.
Can you give me that? Can you give me that, Michael, by the way? I need to hear that.
Well, he said, what I loved in his foreign policy speech when he's just like, after the imprisonment of Lula de Salva.
I've said this on
the highly questionable circumstances.
I spoke about this with Parker Malloy from Media Matters on this show a couple of weeks ago. We were talking about the 2020 race where it was then. And, the thing I still don't see from any of these new faces that have jumped in, no one is centering policy. It's, they put out these videos with like this, Obama was good at this, but something was more authentic about Obama when he would say this. You'd felt like there was something to it. When he went out there and was like, yes, we can. Hope and change.
Well, no, I think that it's two things. I think it's that one, it's like the time historically is different. So even for Obama, it would be different.
Right.
But on the other hand, what I do find amazing, and I would say Kamala Harris has some charisma. She's likable. Christian Gillibrand doesn't really have any charisma. Cory Booker has I think he's corny. But it's just amazing. It's like they're trying to run a play that's designed for one of the best and most charismatic people in modern politics, period. It's like if you're designing a play for a sports team and you got to play to your strengths. And it's like they're all running this Obama formula, but it's like, guys, the difference is that Obama is one of the most charismatic people on earth. Right. And you are not.
Right.
But so also, you should not be designing a campaign built around the same parameters. It's like trying to do what Bill Clinton did, or it's just like some people really have exceptional charisma. And again, I would say Kamala Harris has a little bit of charisma. She's a likable person. She's whatever, but she ain't fucking Barack Obama.
Right.
She's not even the same earth, It's
right.
It's just so it's a.
But just all these.
It's a weird strategy.
All these promo videos they put out. It's like you're listening to Tony Robbins or some shit. It's like I don't want to hear an inspirational speech where we can do better. This is not the America that it should be. We can be better. This.
Well, Kamala Harris's video, she literally, it's like democracy, justice, fairness. And she goes, these aren't just words. And it's like, they literally are just words in this video. They're actually words going across the screen.
Right. And I also love the whole youth thing that's going on, where there's people who are out there going Bernie Sanders is too old. He should step aside. It's time for a younger generation. You always see this coming from baby boomers saying this.
Always.
Because it's it's so funny to me because look at who young people support. You're going to find that Bernie Sanders is he already in 2016 was the most popular young person candidate in modern history. you're going to see this same thing again. Mark my words. He will be the most popular young person candidate. So here's the thing.
That shit. Anybody who says he's too old that's all just cop shit. Like,
right.
That's just nerdy, concern trolling bullshit. Get the fuck out of here. Who cares?
Right,
I'm not like, if you tweet at me, Bernie is too old, or, actually, according to some dumb survey somebody did, Gillibrand's to the left. Like, I'm going to start blocking people on Twitter because I'm not doing that shit.
Right.
That's just fucking dumb.
Right.
I mean,
well, I am doing that shit because I enjoy it, but.
Oh, I know you do. Look, if you want to say, like, I'm already thinking, like, in my head, I would love to see Bernie Sanders and Stacey Abrams. I would love to see her as his running mate. Maybe Bernie Sanders and Ro Khanna. There's people who are definitely young and who are really good, who would be good VP candidates. Unfortunately, like, we got to just skip Generation X. Like, they are not good.
Yeah,
like, as big a problem as because it's like they're sandwiched in between. Like, the boomers sold out, but there's still some boomers, it's particularly older boomers like Bernie, who like have held on to certain values
from like the hippie generation, right?
But Bernie almost feels like he's like from like the 40s or something. But yeah, the hippie generation, right? And then like the millennials come up, and for a variety of reasons, we're like, no, like, fuck this. We need to figure this stuff out. And Gen X was just like sandwiched in the middle, and like they don't even have, like, they didn't even sell out like the boomers, but they were still like too coddled and right wing and Reagan era to even like think. And you could tell, like, you could see like these candidates, like, they still like obviously they're all trying to copy Obama, but like they're also trying to copy fucking Bill Clinton.
Right.
I mean, it's like amazing. It's like, it really is literally like, and I'm Kamala Harris, and that's why I'm seeking the 1992 nomination of the Democratic Party. Whatever.
Well, it's also, to me, this is just from my perspective too, but I've thought about this too. Why it's, when you look at what's going on here, there were so many baby boomers in office. From a whole, like Bernie Sanders was able to run for office when he did and go through all the different, political positions he's been in, because back when he started running, you could be just like your average Joe and afford to run. And then as it continued,
in Vermont.
Right, in Vermont, yeah. But like, as it's gone on, like, the Generation Xers who are in office aren't really that great, because they're all people who could afford to run. Like, we're just starting to get millennials who are like, screw it, I'm a leftist, I can't afford to do it, but I'm doing it anyway, like AOC, And even she surprisingly saved up. Every time I hear conservatives going crazy about how she didn't save up enough, I hear that she saved up like $15,000, and I'm like, how the hell did she even do that? Like,
I don't know, like, conservatives who it's like the only reason that we even know who they are is like they found some like bizarre old fucking like, like the functional equivalent of like some guy in like the Silence of the Lambs movie with $1 billion to be like, oh, here's money to go harass college students, and then they're like on Twitter and just major public toxins because they were funded by some of the worst people on earth, and their big answer to AOC is like, oh, she doesn't have enough money.
Right.
Yeah, that's a real winning message, you fucking idiots.
Right. And to stick on 2020, I thought this was funny. I heard you guys talking about it during the show early on the Majority Report today. Richard Ojeda bowed out of his race. Jedi. And listen, I thought him being in it was actually good because he was bringing up a lot of things that I thought were issues.
I thought it would have been cool to have him on the stage. Yeah.
Right, but then I came across this Dave Weigel tweet, and it's almost like, I don't know what to say about this. Richard Ojeda apparently resigned from his state Senate seat 10 days ago to run to concentrate on running for president, and the West Virginia governor replaced him with a much more conservative senator, and 10 days later now he's just dropping out of the race. So he basically gave up that seat for nothing.
Yeah,
and it's almost like,
oh, that sucks.
It's almost like, dude, what are you doing? And I don't know. I felt like if we'd gotten this news and I was still working at the Majority Report, I feel like you and me would have immediately started brainstorming on a character Because something like it's like I don't know, own goal Ojeda or something like that.
Like, God damn it, the governor tricked me again.
Like something
You'd
like
have to do some real dumb stuff. It'd be offensive to Southerners, but it would have to be just like, I was gonna run for president. Like it would have to be like the fucking like governor's like the wily evil guy, and he's just like, Richard, you and I disagree, but I think your voice ought to be national. You ought to drop out of state senate, run for president. No, just like, think so, sir. And he's just like, God damn it, boy, you get on that stage. And then like 2 weeks later, it's like, the goddamn governor tricked me again.
I was thinking more like a character that's very funny, but I was thinking more of a character that's like he comes out and says something extremely leftist, and then does complete 180 in the next sentence. Something like I don't know, like the Venezuela coup is completely wrong. To stop it, we must take out Maduro. Like.
Or to resolve the situation in Caracas, I'm gonna fly on a Boeing and put a goddamn bullet in Nicolas Maduro's head. And then we can have a negotiated transition. Go Rangers. Simplify.
Right.
Simplify.
No, but listen. What's that?
I gotta go in a minute.
All right. Well, let's quickly, really fast, your thoughts on what's going on in Venezuela.
Well, it's definitely a coup. Mike Pompeo just appointed Elliot Abrams to help be an administration point person on this. Elliot Abrams got his start in the 80s, helping Reagan support death squads and dirty wars in Latin America. Like they're not hiding it. Look, in the bigger picture, I think Chavez is a really admirable leader, and I think the Bolivarian Revolution has done some amazing things, and I think they've also had some big failings, and there's legitimate criticisms. But at this point, it's like when the United States is involved in a coup, the first thing is to oppose and object to that. And the other thing that's depressing and doesn't make me happy at all, but it's like the problems in Venezuela of drug cartel connections to the army, of corruption, of inequality, the opposition is going to do the same shit, except get rid of the little tiny vestiges of the accomplishments of the Bolivarian movement. So I think I don't know. I was maybe too polite to her, but we had some idiot call in the Majority Report today who I don't even know, honestly, I don't, Sam goes here a little bit more than I do, but I'm not even I'm literally not even convinced she's even Venezuelan. Although
she kept saying y'all with a real Southern twang.
Yeah, I think y'all missed it. It's an endogenous movement. It's an endogenous. And then she's like, yeah, the United States has nothing to do with it. And I was like, well, what about what Mexico's advocating in terms of negotiated settlement? Oh, they have a conflict of interest. I was like, oh, you mean every other fucking country in the world? Saying somebody has a conflict of interest in international relations is more dumb than saying the sky is blue. International relations is literally dealing with everybody's conflict of interest. But anyways, and then she listed a bunch of right wing.
The Constitution thing. I've seen the Constitution thing on Twitter, which is bizarre to me. People keep claiming that it's written in the Venezuelan Constitution that you could do this. Let me tell you that if there was a part in the Constitution that said someone could just stand up and say, I'm the president now, we would have had a new Venezuelan president probably every other minute of every other day. I mean,
and as I say, and a lot of people around fucking Penn Station would be president of the United States. And let me just say, and I would prefer all of them to Trump. And right. I recognize Lula as president of Brazil. I recognize myself as president of the United States.
Not Bernie. Sorry, buddy.
Yeah, excuse me, Bernie. Whatever.
You could be mayor of New York.
I'll take
you could be borough president of Brooklyn. How about that? Sam is officially the head of the Libertarian Party.
I'll take mayor. I would kill that Amazon deal.
Right.
But look, I think no. So I just think the bottom line is though, a coup in Latin America, and there was they tried a coup in 2002. Another thing it was put back. I mean, Chavez was literally saved from prison by a popular uprising, and the people that the Bush administration backed had to flee the country. and it's actually amazing to me because honestly, just like as like straight up political analysis, like a lot of people hate Maduro and a lot of people are really unsatisfied with the government, and still they're holding into place. Like there is not an appetite for the opposition. And I will say, like, don't trust, like, definitely don't trust upper class, like.
Uh-oh, Michael just froze. Maybe this was his way to get out of it. Uh-oh. Well, we could leave it there if it comes down to it. If he doesn't pop back up on the screen in a minute. His All right, well, Michael just contacted me via text message to let me know that his battery just died on his computer. So we were going to end it there anyway. It's too bad, but it wasn't much more. I think he's absolutely right. Don't trust. Let's hang up the call. Don't trust those people. And that was Michael Brooks of the Michael Brooks Show and of the Majority Report. You can support him over at his very successful Patreon page at patreon.com/MATTBINDER. Once again, support Michael Brooks at his very, very successful Patreon page, patreon.com/MATTBINDER. Also follow him on Twitter at _Michael Brooks. All right, let's continue. Great planning, Michael, says Brett. Let's continue on into the... oh, wait, he's calling me back. 1 second. Yo. Oh, his volume is off. Unbelievable. Michael, your volume is off. Incredible. Incredible. Michael's making life really simple for me. Oh, my God. It's all right, buddy. It's all right. I'm telling him that it's all good. I can't hear him. That's really funny. All right. Abby says, you sound jelly. Oh, no. Oh, my God. He's calling me back again. Hello? 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 All right. Forget it. All right. Anyway, yeah, Abby said, you sound jelly. I'm just busting Michael's chops. I wanted to say that when he was on the show so I could have got his reaction. But, oh well. You could actually support Michael Brooks at patreon.com/TMBS. That's patreon.com/TMBS. Michael says, no idea what's happening. Tell everyone good night and hashtag feel the burn. Right. So let me go to my... we're going to go to the members half of the show now. But first, I'm going to thank my wonderful Patreon subscribers. I'm going to run down the people who make this show possible. Adam Q, Alan B, that's my dad, Alan Binder. He pays for the show, that's right. Andrew C, Andrew H, Benji A, Bobby M, Brett R, Brian James D, Brooke H, Christine H, Clement C, Colin R, Dank Uger, Dave K, Dragon Slayer 19, Edward N, Fraz K, Francis Z, Ian Curtis J, Jameson Test, Janelle A, Jasmine H, Jeff K, Josh C, Julie, Katie S, Louis from Texas, Marcos R, Max W, me. Once again, that is not me. I don't pay for my own show. That is a user by the name of me. Michael J, Michael M, Misfit D, Mr. Danks, Mugrim, Nicole A, Namdenet, Omid M, Robert B, Romina O, Cena. I'm assuming it's John Cena. TM, Tammy G, Thaddeus A, Tom G, Tom M, Trinae E, Will P, and Zarin. All right, folks. You can support this show by going to patreon.com/MattBinder if you didn't already get the hint when I was fake promoting Michael's Patreon page. You can also support the show by subscribing on the iTunes channel. Oh, the iTunes channel. I guess you could say that, but that's not really what they call it. Subscribe on iTunes. Leave a review on iTunes. Someone leave a review on iTunes soon, because I believe we have a review for literally every month this show has been active. It's been over a year now. Multiple reviews every month, but for some reason, no one's left a review yet in 2019. What's going on? I see the viewership and the listenership rising, but I don't see new reviews coming in. Russian bots perhaps listening to this show? Who knows? Subscribe to this YouTube channel. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. You're right here if you're watching on YouTube. If you're not right here because you're listening to the podcast, which actually most people do listen to the podcast, doomed.tv will take you right to the YouTube channel. Subscribe. It's a work in progress, but I've just been informed by YouTube that I have the amount of hours watched, thanks to all you live watchers who sit through these 2.5 hour shows sometimes, for the whole thing. I have over, well above the 4,000 hours needed to be approved for monetization, but I don't have enough subscribers yet. Very close though, just like a couple of dozen away. Jump on board, subscribe, get me over that hill. All right, if you're watching on YouTube, stay right here. You can continue watching. But if you're listening to the podcast and you're not watching live, this is where I bid you farewell. See you all next time on Doomed. I really need to get an outro song like Sam has on the Majority Report. But we'll clap like we're some sort of movie production. That was not allowed to clap. And we will go straight to the I don't want to call it the better half. I don't have a name for this yet. We've only done a one true Patreon-only show before. I've been giving the Patreon show to freebies for a while now. But we will call this the Patreon-only show because that's very original. Welcome to the Patreon-only show, folks. Let's go to some comments here. Yes, I am aware, guys, that if you were watching on the live stream, there was an issue with not only Michael's Skype connection, but there was also an issue with, for some reason, the stream went to a generic YouTube stream. Like the feed, I went live on a generic YouTube like watch page instead of the live event page I set up in advance. Don't know why that happened. It's the second time that's happened in the whole history of doing the live stream. But I'll figure it out, and I will make sure that never happens again. Jameson, Bernie, Kevin C, Bernard motherfucking Sanders, baby. Kennedy, hell yeah. Electric told me that we can't hear Michael, but that was fixed. I'm calling to bother you, Jamal, says Renee. Well, Michael's gone now, but this is from earlier. I didn't get to the Daniel Bryan. I can't believe Sam Cedar on the Majority Report talked about a WWE clip on the show today, everybody. First of all, my issues were many. I should have warned him. If I knew they were doing this, I should have warned them that WWE is super strict about playing their videos on YouTube. So they're most likely going to get a copyright strike there, even though there was added commentary. Second of all, Sam Cedar called Vince McMahon Ed McMahon. I don't know if anyone else caught that, but I did. I caught that. And I did not enjoy that one bit. If I was there, that would not have happened. But then they showed that great clip of Daniel Bryan knocking Vince McMahon and the whole boomer generation and how they just take and take and take. And they said, it's probably an act. Wrong! Daniel Bryan is actually a progressive. He's one of those wrestlers that is sort of like a Bernie Sanders in the wrestling industry. He came up from the bottom. He was an indie wrestler, getting paid, very little, driving around, gaining a fan base, driving all across the country for like 10 years doing independent wrestling shows just to get a name for himself. Many thought he would never make it to the WWE. too small, not doesn't have your average wrestler build, not particularly charismatic in a WWE fashion, but he got over on sheer wrestling ability, won over many of the other talent in the WWE, finally got signed. When he was there, developed that sort of WWE charisma because he always had charisma, just the indie wrestling charisma. But fans saw that he's a great wrestler, and he became big in the WWE. But that's him. He's legitimately progressive. And then Sam goes, when Brian brings up AJ Styles, he goes, oh, that's a WWE promo thing. The funny thing there is AJ Styles is actually a conservative in real life, and he recently went on Steve Crowder's show. So, Sam's been wanting to debate Crowder. There was an overlap there for Sam to bring up, but if you don't have a wrestling fan on the staff, you're going to miss out on this stuff. Going to miss out on prime pro wrestling, pop culture, politics. Your 3 Ps there. Throwing a P-tape. Your Trump P-tape. But it was nice to see them bring it up on the show. But had to get that off my chest, Had to get that off my chest. Derek says, you feeling the burn, Matt? Oh, let me tell you. I'm ready to go all in on Bernie Sanders. Not just, shit posting and advocating for him via social media. I'm ready to knock on doors. I'm ready to get involved with the campaign. If Bernie Sanders is ready to run and he's ready to put the policy up front, he's ready to run on that democratic socialist platform, I'm excited as hell, man. I'm excited as hell. And also he'll help make sure that we don't have a woman president, which is, as you all know, my priority. Right. Patrick says this would make a truly blessed Friday. Right. Today was insane. Roger Stone, government shutdown end. People still talking about Venezuela, which just happened late yesterday afternoon. We have this Bernie Sanders news coming in now. This was another thing. I'm going to have someone on specifically to talk about this because this is in the usual doomed wheelhouse. What's going on with digital media and sort of like the right-wing reaction to all these journalists being laid off from companies like BuzzFeed and what else? I'm having a mental block. Huffington Post. And then a few weeks ago, you had layoffs with Mike, all sorts of digital journalists losing their jobs at digital media companies, and the right is loving it, especially the fringe right, the far right, white supremacists, and we'll get into that, and I'll have a guest on to talk about that very soon. I'm also gonna have a guest on very soon to talk about how Gab, basically the alt-right Twitter, has been keep it on, basically. You might have heard they had issues with web hosting issues, domain hosting issues, but somehow they still remain up, even after that synagogue shooter was unveiled to be a very big part of that community and had shared his plans to carry out that shooting right before actually going through with it. And there is a very interesting backstory to that. I'm also talking to a few other guests for a few other interesting shows, including more right-wing debates. I know you all love that Kevin Martin debate, and we missed out on doing a members Patreon subscriber only show yesterday because that Kevin Martin debate, the conservative who defected from Turning Point USA, that went on for 2.5 hours pretty much. But it was totally worth it. It was. I feel like that kid can possibly be a leftist in the near future, Or, as someone else pointed out, she can also go the way of the gun girl, and after going on Doomed and talking with me, find a nice right-wing grift that pays, and maybe get a spot on InfoWars. I'm also going to, and this is just between you and me, I hope she does it, I'm going to reach out to the Kent State gun girl. She already did the show once about a year ago. I would like to do a check-in with her. I mean, I got to know what's going on. I think she'll do it. When I spoke to her, she was very open to doing these sort of crossover shows. And hell, I want to do them all the time, really. I would have rather spoken to some, I don't know, conservative Twitter personality or some right-wing loon and talk to Michael today. No, I'm just playing. But I would like to do that more, and I will be. Hassan Piker for either Doomed or TMBS says Edward Norton. Yeah, I'm gonna get Hassan on this show. That's a good guest idea for sure. A-Dub forever. Roger Stone is literally a cuck. He is. Absolutely. Brett Reed. Alex Jones has also made a fool of himself on occasion on air. He was straight up called an idiot when he was on TV in the UK. Oh, he's terrible on other shows. Don't get me wrong. Because the rug is pulled out from under him. But on his own show, the guy can put on a show. He can put on a performance. Kennedy, Bernie. Patrick says, Infowars.com, the cure for 1984 is 1776. Right. A-Dub, the question is, which high-ranking member of the campaign directed Roger Stone to reach out to WikiLeaks? I think that's been confirmed, actually, based on a previous report in the New York Times, to be Bannon. That's right. Steve Bannon is going to, if he wasn't already, he is going to be pulled on into this, which will be, Breitbart will get pulled into this if they haven't already. It'll be a fun thing to watch. Although I do once again caution, certainly when this news breaks, absolutely talk about it, pour on into what's released. But I wouldn't speculate so much with so much going on with policy and Trump and what the administration is doing. Immigration, the border shutdown, government shutdown, people just hurting, things like, the Amazon headquarters where you can really do some real work on the ground, organizing. Don't get too caught up into this investigation stuff before something comes out. By all means, once Stone was indicted and arrested today, spend your Friday having a great time with it. But I wouldn't get too caught up in it like a lot of the blue wave centrist Dem donut types do. Male Vitality Force, says Ed. Witless subbed. Thank you. I really appreciate that. A-Dub, Mueller is lining these indictments up. Trump Jr. or Kushner will be in prison. Oh, I absolutely think it's you're more likely to see Trump Jr. or Kushner than Trump. Absolutely end up in prison. Renee, Michael should have gone to Queens. Right. No, he's a Brooklyn guy. Yeah, he's absolutely. Everyone I know in New York is in Brooklyn. I'm one of the lone Queens people. I've been here forever though. It's hard to leave. Sort of could take the kid out of Queens, but you can't take Queens out of the kid. Renee, Roger Stone needs to get on the helicopter to Disneyland ride that you mentioned, Dark Gritty Matt. Right. Misha, oh my God, I'm having a training session with Bird, and I was trying to keep the what? I don't know what Misha's talking about there, but I'll jump over that. A-Dub, Roger Stone is the proof of collusion. He's definitely. Roger Stone is the link between Trump and Wiki/Russia, says A-Dub. He's one of them, for sure. He's the main one. I don't know if that's the whole thing, though. I do wonder if Assange had another connection the Trump administration. But we'll see. Especially now that we know how much Bannon is involved, and Breitbart had a... right. Jay, Binder has on the work wife? Oh, you talking about Michael? Yeah. People were really confused about that issue with the stream showing up on the wrong page. I will update the Patreon link after we get off the air, so people who want to go back and watch, Patreon subscribers who want to go back and watch the live show can do that without having to search for it. Don't know what happened. I'm sorry that it did. I will find out and try to fix it immediately. A-Dub, LaGuardia saved the day. Brett, I still don't see a Discord link anywhere around here, Matt. I've told you about this. Discord mods, people who set up my Discord, I'm telling you, I'm like a baby boomer when it comes to Discord. Don't get it. It's confusing to me. I mean, I know how to talk in it, I know how to chat with you guys. I don't get all the setup stuff. Discord mods, either reach out to me. We got to sort of plan out maybe a time where we could sit down and figure this out. I'm going to get the Discord going. I don't think it should just be a Doom Discord right now. I don't think it's, I think we got to get it going for more people. I know the Michael Brooks show has a pop-in Discord channel. And I know everyone who listens to the Majority Report usually jumps in there to live chat. Maybe we could find some other niche. Maybe we could talk about all these sorts of conspiracies in there, not necessarily just what you're hearing on Doomed. All the online political drama. The YouTube stuff going on in the YouTuber creator communities, all that stuff. Maybe that could be the place to talk about that. If you guys like that idea. Brian, so Bernie's officially running. Well, not officially. Oh, I have the hiccups now. Excuse me. Not officially, but the rumors are more real than ever that Bernie is going to run. Seeing Trump cave is awesome, says A-Dub. Buy Attack says, please talk about Bernie being set to announce. We did. This is from a little bit earlier. Renee says, Ocasio Peck 2024. Abby, it's Matt and Mike Fridays. It was Matt and Mike Fridays. Absolutely. Kennedy, I can't wait to help Bernie win. I'm so excited. He says in all caps. I am very excited too. Jay Jaribus. The shit libs on Twitter are going to be even more insufferable this cycle, I fear. Let them. Bring it. A-Dub says, at least Nancy isn't embarrassing the party like Ilhan Omar and Talat. No, they're not embarrassing the party. I know what you're saying. They had a few moments where they're... I don't think... First of all, saying impeach the motherfucker was great. I don't give a shit about that. And Omar wasn't so great when she was on CNN talking about Lindsey Graham. I didn't really... It was not the way that right-winger was portraying it, though, about his sexual preference. That she was not saying that. But she was giving Graham a pass by saying he was compromised instead of just saying the obvious. He is who he always is, and that's a generic Republican. They will do this all the time. Flip-flop to whatever benefits them. Anti-Trump, pro-Trump. Pro-Trump to maybe giving Trump a little slap on the wrist, but right back to being super pro-Trump. This is who they are. Russia doesn't need to have anything on them. And Russia doesn't, probably. Kennedy, the youth is and has always been with Bernie. Absolutely. Misha says, I already saw some of those shit libs saying they hoped Bernie would die. What is wrong with people? Yeah, Jay Jariba says those people are sick. Yeah, just screw them. Don't even pay attention to those people. If they don't have a following, just ignore it. If they do have a following, put them on blast. That's what I say. Terrent Q, Lincoln Chafee will be president, but Rhode Island will be underwater. It's because he used the monkey's paw. Right. A-Dub says Trump will do a national emergency. We'll see. I mean, I could see him doing it, but we'll see. Brian A. Nancy's minions are already talking about smart border security. They'll give him something. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. Hopefully she continues to hold. I mean, the cards are there in their favor. The polls say people are blaming Trump and the Republicans for this shutdown. Why not let it go? I mean, even the furloughed workers and the people who are working without pay, they're blaming Trump for this too. Renee says, big boss woman Tulsi Gabbard of the Hawaiian Congo. Renee, as everyone knows, he's our Jimmy Reefer cake. Sometimes I got no clue what he's saying. Brett Reed, I'm really weirdly passionate about switching to the metric system. So many of my friends are European, and having to break out a calculator to describe something makes me feel like an idiot. All right. Take two says, Trump gave away 2020 today. We'll see. He definitely, some of the people in his base are definitely not happy with him. But I doubt he's going to lose them when it comes time to casting a vote. Brian, man, could you imagine AOC on the stump for Bernie? Well, what you'll see is those people who would normally not like AOC, besides the fact that she is a woman of color, they'll turn on her real fast. And it won't matter that she's a woman of color. I guarantee you that's what you'll see. They'll bring up her age and use that against her. Say, she's young, she doesn't know what she's talking about. You'll see. The Norwegian says, MS-14 is even worse, right? Kennedy, the Bernie coalition is about to be lit. Renee says she was concealing herself, talking about Tulsi, I'm assuming. Oh, wait. No, I have no idea what Renee's talking about. I'm going to skip that. MacArthur, feel the burn. Brian Arguello, the best part of this is we're going to get Maoist Bernie back. I am looking forward to Michael's Bernie impressions. Renee, Jeremy Corbyn, Bernie Sanders, Jedi Knights. Abby, this is when I said my priority on the mainstream, when I said my priority, jokingly by the way, is to make sure we don't have a woman president. This is where we're kicking off now in the chat. Abby, fuck women. Edward says, people of color, woman president. Muslim person of color, female president. The Norwegian, there's still time for Bernie to transition. Bernadette 2020. Renee, plot twist. Bernie comes out of the closet and becomes a woman. Tom says, we need an Australian Bernie. Oh boy, you guys are too much. Bernie is going nowhere if he keeps talking about identity politics, says A-Dub. I want to talk about that. I forgot to bring it up with Michael. I think there's something... I want to talk about that with another guest. Because there's some back and forth to go on there. And I don't want to just... Listen, do I think Bernie has a problem with how he says things when it comes to diversity and identity? Yes. The messaging is a little bit off for this day and age. Is that what he's saying, though? That identity politics is not important? Not at all. He clearly in that interview says that what we need is a diverse coalition of black men and women, white men and women, Asian Americans, Native Americans, Latinos, Muslims, Jewish people. Everyone needs to come together and take on those in power. I mean, I don't see how that says he's... What he's trying to say is we can't just run on one. He's just saying it bad. You can't just run on identity politics. You can't just run on class warfare. The two are intertwined. That's intersectionality. Gender, race, class, religion. It's all a part of the same puzzle. And you can't complete the puzzle if you're missing one of those pieces. That analogy is off the top of my head. It's super corny, but there you go. Kennedy says Bernie is it. Right. It's Bernie, bitch, as the that piece by I'm having a mental block. I can't believe I'm forgetting her name. From Chapo. You guys know who I'm talking about. Her piece that got removed from the Baffler. And is now in the Jacobin. Jacobin. Can't believe I said Jacobin. Jacobin. Tom M. Bernie doesn't talk about identity politics. People tarnish him with that. He talks about equality. A-Dub. Bernie talks negatively about Democrats playing identity politics. Fuck him, to be honest. We'll go past this because I think I addressed this stuff. Thomas points out that most of us are more left-wing than Bernie. Right, absolutely. But he's the most left of the Democratic national figures. Uremo, can you tell Michael that Biden is not getting anywhere? He will crash and burn down early on. I don't know about that, to be honest with you. I'd be very cautious about giving Biden that pass. I'm worried about Biden. Let's put it that way. Kennedy, Bernie speaks to the anxieties of literally everyone in the country. Thomas says her campaign has just been releasing likability videos a la Clinton, talking about Kamala. Right. I don't like what I'm seeing from the Harris campaign. It's Pokemon go to the polls. It's I'm just chilling. It's not, I don't like that. It's very corny, and it's not winning people. It's not going to win people over. Which, I mean, obviously, it's good if you want Bernie, but I think it hurts overall, to be honest. I mean, that's really where the discourse is. That's pretty sad. I get that stuff goes hand. Sometimes you got to do that stuff to get the more less political mainstream folks. I get it. But that's all I'm seeing. And you can do that stuff without being such a cornball about it. Abby says Bernie's got to pick a good Veep in case he dies. Well, there's a nicer way to say that, but yes, I agree. His VP choice will be very important. Very, very important. A-Dub says the great progressive project of our time is inequality and healthcare. That means our goal is progressive taxation and Medicare for all. Tom says, can AOC be Veep or is she too young? I don't mean to say this. I feel like people say this to just keep her out of it. I'm not saying this. I truly mean this. I want to see her in the House for longer. I'm happy she's not of age to run because I think she's going to be a real joy to see in the House, especially in an office where she can literally keep running for as long as she wants. There's no reason to get her out of public office quick. No reason to get her into the presidency, have her run, win the presidency. We see her for 4-8 years and then she's gone. I want to see her as a voice that's able to cast votes that we all agree with for at least a few more terms. It'll be a breath of fresh air, honestly. So why fast track her political career? I don't want that. I truly think we need to get more AOCs in there. So we have AOCs filling up the House. Eventually, AOCs in the Senate. I mean, at that point, any Dem president their hand will be forced to follow their lead. But Thomas says Sanders Abrams. That'd be nice. Tom says, what about Ojeda? Well, you heard what I said about him earlier. I don't not like him, actually. I think the things he was saying were very important, and I would have loved to see them on a debate stage, to be honest. But we're not going to see that. And if he wasn't going to take it all the way, he shouldn't have given up his state Senate seat 10 days ago. A-Dub says Beto / Pod Save America guy 2020. Steve says 35 plus to serve in presidency. VP follows same rules. Since if anything occurred, they take the job, right? A lot of people want to see Stacey Abrams as Bernie's VP choice. I'd get behind that. Renee says big boss woman Tulsi, and I think Renee is, aside from the weird leftists who are still Seth Rich truthers, I think Renee might be alone in that group. Take Two says AOC's endorsement would be incredible, and Ojeda campaigning for Bernie in Appalachia would also be incredible. I don't see AOC not endorsing Bernie. And if she doesn't, I would be very disappointed. I mean, who else would she endorse? Maybe Warren? But I mean, we know where AOC's politics lie. And I'd love to see her endorse Warren if Warren ends up being the pick. But, come on. Thomas says AOC's endorsement of Bernie would make donut Twitter fucking explode. Their love of AOC is literally hanging on that single thread. Right, that's what I said before, right? Kennedy says, try not to let myself get too hopeful. Abby says AOC is basically gets to anoint between Bernie or Warren. I don't see her not picking Bernie. Again, I don't know. But I don't see it. Take Two says, I thought Warren would endorse Bernie in 16. Nah, she played the game. I don't know what to say. It's in the past, though. I'm not one of those people who held it against her for long. Yeah, everyone's saying in the chat, not safe to count your chickens, but she probably will. I agree with that. Renee says that tiny bird that landed on Bernie worked. Thomas says there isn't even an issue thing on Harris's website, right? I also noticed that with that young mayor in Indiana who jumped in, Pete Buttigieg, whatever his name is. No issues page. Just running on America needs to put a new generation in charge. Bullshit. Don't care about how old the candidate is. I want to see policies that affect the new generation. And if you can't get behind that, then I don't care if you're 35. I don't care if you're 135. Not gonna be for me. Thomas says Hillary staffers are running Harris's campaign. Right. She hired a bunch of Hillary staffers. I don't know why you would do that. Jay Jariba says Harris's ad was so bad. Right. It was really bad, especially after Warren, raised the stakes so high with her great ad. I mean, Bernie's got to outdo that Warren ad. If he doesn't, he's going to have a weak opening, I think, regardless of how great he is and everything else. People really put a lot into those ads. Thomas says they just released the goddamn action figure for Harris. Did they really? She's been a senator for, 2 years now? Come on. I mean, yes, she has a long history before that. But how many other state prosecutors have this sort of fan standing for them? It's too much. MacArthur points out that younger people who were 15 to 16 last time will actually be able to vote for Bernie this time around, right? And I'm pretty sure he's going to keep all the people who aged slightly out of that bracket that voted for him in 2016. I think so. Kennedy says Bernie stands Cardi. Thomas calls Generation X Generation Cucks. Renee says, hey, I'm Gen X, mopey and all, right? Liz B says, Michael Brooks looking damn fine. Michael was looking good today. I'll give him that. Not as good as me, but hallucinogen. Michael Brooks, I love you. Well, Michael Brooks said, I'm sure, that he loves you too if he was hearing that comment. But where's the love for me? A-Dub wanted to hear more Bill Clinton from Michael. I'd buy that for $1. Says, if we're going to win, we got to take a hard look at Bernie's town hall in Virginia, because I swear he gained a lot of support out of Trump country. We're not going to win without that. Well, I think you can win without that support. But if Bernie can appeal to them without sort of trying to appease them by, giving up some sort of left, which I don't think he would do. But if he could win that support by just saying what he's always said, then do it for sure. Absolutely. Liz B says, love you, Matt, but you need to get a shave and a haircut. You look wild. Well, that's my whole shtick. That's my brand. Renee backs me up. He's our dark, gritty Matt, he says. Thomas says, my conservative mom would vote for Sanders. Liz says, can't wait for Bernie. Brian says, Ojeda, Trump voters would def swing to Bernie. I think so. Misha says, my boyfriend is a socialist Gen Xer, but it's not common. Chuck E. Cheese said, well, big fan of your establishment. My son loves it, Chucky. Mr. Charles Entertainment Cheese. But he says, Ojeda would have had potential to rally some people in the South, but would be good potentially long game, but not for 2020. Yeah, I think he's a good ally to have, but I don't think he has a career as a front runner in the Democratic primary. Senator Leghorn, says Renee. Kennedy says Ojeda should get involved in the labor movement and then run again in a few years. I think he'd be a great figure in the labor movement. But again, I don't really see him. He should definitely run in Virginia. Maybe Virginia Senate. Maybe he could take on, what's his face? Can't believe I'm having another mental block. Funny thing is, we're not even at 9:30 yet, when the show would usually begin, and I'm already out of it. Joe Manchin. Oh my God, I can't believe I forgot his name. I'd love to see him take on Manchin. Dragon Slayer says Jim Justice. Yeah, that's when I mentioned the West Virginia governor. Take Two says Ann Coulter on Bill Maher tonight if anyone wants to see her hair fall out. Tom says Ann Coulter still goes out in public. Well, I tweeted at her today that she should call Trump a cuck. I asked her, please call Trump a cuck for me. Because she called him wimpy. Renee says, I'm for AOC and Bernie, but I supported right-wing pundits. What? I don't know what Renee's talking about. Kennedy says, rich Venezuelans are literally having their idiot children tweet out pretending to be poor people supporting the opposition. Love it. Love it. Yes, Michael was very funny with his sniping Maduro character. Who I dubbed Own Goal Ojeda. Ed says, eat the rich. Brett says, great planning, Michael, in response to Michael's computer dying. Abby says, plug your fucking computer in. Brian says that's a sweet tracksuit, though, talking about what Michael was wearing. Thomas says, likely excuse about the battery dying. Diener, the reptilian hunter, says, that laugh, classic. Obviously talking about my laugh, yes. It was an old majority. For people who don't know, a lot of new Majority Report listeners, my laugh was a Majority Report legend in its own right during the 2011 to 2015 days of the Majority Report. Renee says, great plug, dark, gritty. Matt. Kennedy's laughing, LMAO. Devil, you don't. Good job promoting Binder. That's all to me, sending people to my Patreon instead of Michael's. Then Abby brings up You Sound Jelly. Binder's full of Matt. It's actually Matt Binder, just to make sure, but I know what you're saying. Misha, my boyfriend, just got home and said they were talking about Venezuela on NPR in support of the coup. NPR's such a joke. Renee says Dark Gritty's deplatforming the competition. Tom says, I watched Harry Potter the other night, and the Trump Conservative Party in Australia, Bolsonaro, etc. It seems like the Dark Wizards are taking over, and for some reason, 1/3 of people love it. Oh no, don't become one of those, like, liberal Dems who always reference Harry Potter for everything that happens in politics. Please. Tom says, do right-wingers cheer for the bad guy in movies? They do. Abby says, I've never listened to TMBS. Wow. I'm honored you listened to me and not TMBS. Abby says, doomed. And then we got to, now we're at some suggestions for what to call this half. The funk half. Renee says he'll make a song. Abby says she just subscribed. Thank you. Devil You Don't says the Binder half. Abby says the hung half. He says I'm looking like Jesus. Theo says talking doomed. I like that, actually. Reference to Talking Dead and all that stuff. Michael. AOC and Bernie have said that climate change is a World War II level threat. They should propose a tax rate fitting for such a threat. A 1944 to 45 top marginal tax rate of 94%. Thoughts? I'm down. Let's do it. Tom says, why not have a 94% marginal tax rate, make the cutoff $100 million? They still won't understand it. I'm open to anything that taxes the rich more. Jay Jariba says Ed McMahon over Vince McMahon. I personally have to disagree. Kami says 100% tax over $1 million. Hell, I don't got $1 million. I support it. And even if I did, you know what? Even if I did $1 million over, I would be pretty comfortable with, hell, I'd be pretty comfortable with $100,000. It's getting a little bit difficult here, living in New York, watching prices rise, rent rise. I got a kid, But, and I completely forgot to, because Michael got kicked off, I just remembered. Speaking of my son, I completely forgot. Michael's live show in Brooklyn is a week from today. Forgot to promote it on the front half. It's all right. I'll make sure everybody knows. Abby said you should go on Tights and Fights. What's that, Abby? And if the stream ends before you can tell me on Twitter or via email. I want to know. What's Tights and Fights? I will Google it anyway. But Renee says Socialist Suplex. Wrestling is so bloody dorky, says the Norwegian. It is and it is not. Tom says, you might be right. There are a shitload more people not making $1 million. If you can't live comfortable off $1 million a year, then well, fuck you. Yeah, I mean, Kennedy says lots of DSA people are disappointed in Bernie's statement about Venezuela, but that's so short-sighted. Listen, the problem with Bernie's statement on Venezuela, I think, he should have reversed the order of the condemning of Maduro. I can never say his name, I don't know why. But he should have condemned the coup first. But also on top of that, reading it as on Twitter strictly, it's a 3-tweet thread, and you read the first 2 tweets not talking about the coup first, and it looks like, oh, Bernie did 2 tweets about how bad the current government is in Venezuela, but then did 1 tweet about the coup is not the answer. Well, it's unfortunately, if you read it, it's not a Twitter, it's not a statement for Twitter. It is Bernie's overall statement that he put into a threaded tweet for Twitter. So if you read it in one go, as one paragraph like you would on, say, as an official statement on his website, it's not a bad statement. Again, I wish he reversed the order of things, but it really isn't that bad of a statement. Could he have done better? Of course. I will criticize him on that for sure. But is it like end of the world? Is it super disappointing? I don't think so. Thomas says Ilhan Omar had a good statement on Venezuela, though. She did. And so did, what's his face from California. I'm having my brain is just fried remembering names today. Jesse says Rogan is a big Gab fan. Well, good. I hope Rogan listens to the podcast. Shadrick says, how amazing is it that one of your past doomed guests is now on InfoWars approaching 5-year-olds telling them abortion is murder, even though Alex Jones has admitted his girlfriends had them. It is something to watch, and actually, if you listened to the last show, Kevin Martin, the conservative who left, who is the head of the mutiny going on in Turning Point USA against Charlie Kirk and Candace Owens, he too is a former InfoWars regular guest. I don't think he was a contributor like Bennett is, but he was on InfoWars a bunch of times. Hey, I will have anyone on this show. I will. I don't see the harm in it, especially right now as it's growing. Maybe when I get a bigger platform, if I was of Rogan status, I would definitely be careful about that. And if I had someone on the show, I'd be very careful to make sure you guys trust me. You guys know what I do. I don't let people just spout off and get their horrible shit through. I interrupted the conservative guests who've been on this show. When I was on Majority Report, the conservative callers, the gamer gators I would take during that era, I would, let them say their piece, but the second they were trying to spout some bullshit, I would not let them stray people wrong. And I would immediately debunk it. You can't just, there's a way to deal with it, these people, without letting them off the hook and also without avoiding engagement. I'm not saying I've perfected it, but I think my experiments at it have gone in my favor. And yes, that video is incredible for going up to a child at the Women's March and telling the small child that abortion is murder. Right. But maybe I'll have her on the show and ask her about it to her face. Renee says, have her debate Jamie Peck or your friend that looks like Jennifer Connelly. I don't know who you're talking about. Brian says, I like Binder's strategy of giving these idiots enough rope to hang themselves. Right. You just got to give them enough. They'll say something stupid and that's it. You don't got to, obviously if I had someone on my show and they started denying the Holocaust, you let them put that out there, and then they painted themselves in a corner. It's over. It's great they said that for you to win the debate and to make people really, show these people for who they are. But then also, unlike for Rogan, for example, you don't let them continue on and start spouting their theories on why they believe these things and actually start to maybe convince people. Kami says, start a Twitch channel. I've been thinking about it. I don't know what I would play. The only game I've played recently has been a little bit of Fortnite, which I'm terrible at, and then Warcraft 3, which I used to love and play a lot of. But I just started getting a little bit into it. I've played just a few games. Time is rare now, but I'm horrible at it now. It's really sad. It's actually depressing. I used to be really good at Warcraft 3. It was my favorite game. It still is one of my favorite games. Since I've brought it back, I purchased the pre-order for the Warcraft 3 Reforged, which is going to be like a re-release of it, but it's not out yet. But if you pre-order it, you get the old version, the non-remastered version for free. And I can't find my license keys because Warcraft 3 is from an age where you actually bought the CD with the physical license sticker on the CD jewel case. I couldn't find my license, so I pre-ordered because I was going to buy the remastered one anyway. And long story short, I played about 6 rounds and I've lost every single one. Hell, if anyone wants to play with me, if you play Warcraft 3, we could jump on Twitch. I'll do a Twitch channel. That's really the only game I could probably play on Twitch, though. I don't have like a gaming computer. I have a really fast MacBook. I'm still paying for it via credit card, but I needed it for this show. And I think, and Warcraft 3 is a made-for-Mac game, so I think I could handle it. So if you want to play Warcraft 3, email matt@xmattx.com, Twitter, message me, get at me on the Patreon. You guys are all paying subscribers. I'm going to jump in the Patreon when I can, and if you guys leave comments and talk with you guys, I really do want to be more active with you guys. And I will do as much of it as I can. I don't want it to be like some sort of bonus, like I'm some sort of big shot, because I don't see myself as that. I mean, like, you guys are funding this show. You deserve as much engagement as possible. And if I have more people joining up, I could give even more engagement and give even more people, give even a more bang for your buck to even more people. Ooh, wait a minute, look at that. Someone has just during this show become a Patreon subscriber. I know this is not going to be on the freebie portion, but Abigail just became a Patreon subscriber and has officially, for the first time ever, in total I've had way more Patreon subscribers than this, but for the first time at once, I have reached the 50 Patreon subscriber mark. Really, I can't thank you guys enough. I am a terrible self-promoter. If I tweeted out a link to this Patreon maybe once a day on Twitter, I could have probably had, I don't know, maybe double this altogether. Maybe still not at once. Maybe double this altogether at some point, much earlier. But I'm just terrible at it. I feel bad self-promoting. Still not good at it. But one of my New Year's resolutions is to just force myself to do it. And I think I've been jumping on it. Jumping on the resolution, I should say. But getting a little bit better at it. Promoting myself just a little bit more than usual. But Abigail, thank you very much for by becoming a subscriber on Patreon. You are, for the first time, the 50th concurrent doomed paying patron. Ryo, a follow-up interview would be interesting. I would like to see if she drank the Kool-Aid and lost the ability to hold a civil conversation like before. Yeah, I think she'll come on the show, though. I will give her this. Again, who knows what's happened since then, but she was very open to talking with me. We never really went further with it. Maybe I should have, but she was really into doing more with me and bringing in her boyfriend who runs that conservative site Liberty Hangout. She apparently is also friends with Bay Stickman, who I really don't want anything to do with. But I mean, he's really faded from the scene since it seems, so he might be totally irrelevant now anyway. I probably should have followed up and done more with her. But it's never too late. I think she would do it at least once more. Hell, maybe I should do, maybe I could be the Michael Ian Black to her Meghan McCain. Maybe I could be the Alan Combs to her Sean Hannity. Maybe we could do she could be a regular doomed guest. Who knows? Alan, well, my dad says Roger Stone reminds me of classy Freddie Blassie. That's a wrestling reference, everybody, if you're wondering where I get my wrestling fandom from. He does a little bit, right? Dragon Slayer. So, Binder, how does West Virginia governor being named Jim Justice affect your Ojeda character idea? I think Michael put the two characters, his version together with my version, and that should be the Ojeda character. Sort of like he always ends up, he's always promotes the leftist ideal, and then the governor, Jim Justice, comes in and convinces him to do something super right-wing, and he falls for it. I think that's the perfect combination of my own go Ojeda character. And I do it with love. I'm not ragging on Ojeda. He doesn't really have I'm not punching down here. It's just to be funny. The guy really should not have dropped his Senate seat if he wasn't sure this was going to last past 10 days. I mean, you knew if this was a couple months out, even a month out, maybe I could understand. But 10 days ago, you could sort of have a grasp of where things are headed. Abby says the Duke of Queens. Shadrick, if you do get Caitlyn Bennett, talk to the Knowledge Fight guys to get the info on when Alex Jones admitting to talking his girlfriends into around 10 abortions. Knowledge Fight. That's my door opening. Don't worry. I'm being raided by the FBI. A la Roger Stone. I swear, I had nothing to do with Russia. No, that's just my girlfriend coming into the house. She was at a knitting thing. The knitting community is quite big, and knitting is in now, folks. If you did not know that. So, when people tell Hillary she should go knit, they should know it's the equivalent of being hip and cool. It's like Pokemon Go to the polls. Kami says, Discord is impossible. I'm in Hassan's. I really think it's really confusing. I much prefer Slack, but I also don't like how Slack is, to really get the full Slack features, you got to pay for it. And Slack can get kind of expensive. And Slack also doesn't connect to to Patreon, I should say, like Discord does. Tom, with Alex Jones as the father, did they really need talking into? Oof. Thomas says, I'm with Matt. Bring it. Embarrassing the party. Bitch, please. Right. I don't. Omar and Rahi did not embarrass the party. I will stand by me saying Omar didn't put her best forward on that CNN interview, but she didn't say what the right wing was saying, she said. Tom says, so there could have been 10 more patriotic Jones babies? They would have ended up being another Jonestown. Jesse says, Omar's great on the coup. I don't think Bernie's even said anything yet. No, Bernie has. Please go to Bernie's Twitter feed. He has absolutely said something. Abby says, LOL, these comments are from an hour ago. Is he going to read them all? I used to read them all, but as this feed has grown, I clearly cannot. So I won't read them all. I'll only read the best ones. As soon as I get monetization on this channel, I'll get the super chat feature, and you guys could pay me to read your comments. For those just listening, I'm doing a big smile and thumbs up on the YouTube feed. I try just to read the interesting ones and the ones that give me a question so I can provide you with an answer. Misha says almost 1,000 subscribers. All I need is that 1K and I could apply for monetization. It won't be a lot with only 1,000 subscribers, but even $1 or $2 per feed per show is really helps. Haas Wildfire says just sub to you, Matt. Thank you. Kennedy, Amber Frost, thank you. I don't know why I was having that. She's the one who wrote that great piece. It's Bernie. It's still Bernie, bitch. Matt, you're off the cuff analysis that identity politics. You're off the cuff analysis of identity politics, where there are various pieces of the same puzzle that intersect and all need to be addressed, was great. Why, thank you, Tom. Haas Wildfire, establishment looks to be backing Harris, not Biden. Right, but Biden hasn't run yet. I think it'll split the establishment, staffers at least. The establishment class that actually works for the campaign and works behind the scenes to promote their candidate. Tom says it's largely a class struggle. You should read and watch Michael Parenti. Yeah, but you can't discount. It's totally... listen, all those centrist liberals that are behind Harris and just focus on that stuff, like Marcos and those types, they are a problem. They are they don't care about class. They don't focus on it. They don't think it's a big deal. Absolutely. That is a problem, though, because those people are loud, and they do convince people that Bernie is going on about class too much. It's a problem, for sure. But you can't do any of them without the other. It's that simple. And I do think the left, and even Bernie Sanders, policy-wise and also message-wise, usually addresses this. That's just my opinion. Ryan says I want AOC to primary Schumer. That'd be great if Sam doesn't. Devil You Don't says no reason she can't return to the House after she's president. Who was it? Quincy Adams? It's a point, but I don't think that's going to happen in this. Haas says, yes, I believe it's Quincy Adams. I don't think that is going to happen in this day and age, though. The Norwegian, governance is not a one-man operation. It's what frustrates me to no end about U.S. presidential elections. People gloss over the importance of securing Senate and Congress just to focus on one person. Right. But you also can't deny, I absolutely agree with that, but you also can't deny that the presidency comes with the bully pulpit. But that's another reason to really say AOC should stay in Congress as long as possible, because she has that sort of reach. She has a presidential-esque reach when it comes to saying her piece on the what traditionally really only a president would have that sort of reach with their message. Media jumps at her and I say this commending her and happy they do. Media jumps on her every word. Abby says, okay, who else thought the director of Iron Man was the Pod Save America guy? I will say, Abby, that I did do a double take when I first saw the name. Absolutely. Devil You Don't. I feel like we're trying to determine the VP before the announcement is like naming your future children when you're still a virgin. Right. Brian, I still can't believe donut Twitter is the thing. Right. Abby says she knows it's been der. Norwegian, if the cutoff was 100K, the rising prices wouldn't be an issue because social safety net would take care of you. True. Tom says, sorry for referencing Harry Potter. I happened to be watching it and saw the connection. People most antithetical to their roles are governing. I would reference Star Wars, but they're not as specific. Abby says, Tights and Fights is a maximum fun podcast on wrestling. I haven't heard it, but Max Fun is generally awesome. Renee says, Bernie has to do radio like FDR. Michael says, Ro Kohana. Right, thank you. That's who I was trying to think of. The congressman from California who came out strongly against the Venezuelan coup. Tom, your chat with Kevin Martin was pretty interesting. He did seem close to left on a lot of issues, especially fiscal, but you didn't get into too many social issues. That's true. My dad says, I think Kelly Weil has that Jennifer Connelly thing going. Oh, right, Kelly. Kelly's great. Michael says, we need to put more pressure on AOC. Her 70% proposal is too generous. I agree. A very small percentage of the population make over $10 million per year. Anything over $1 million instead. There should be a marginal tax rate on each. I agree. On each level. Abby says, who's dark gritty? I like normal gritty. Renee calls me dark gritty. I don't really get it, but it's stuck for Renee at least. Brian says, knitting and coloring books are in. Michael says, AOC has not said anything about Venezuela. She retweeted Rokhana's tweet, though. It's disappointing for sure, but it's also a little bit harder for her, being that her constituency is really heavily Latin American. I know her district well. I am in it every day. Growing up, I hung out in her district very much. My band, IAFC, who I brought up on this show before, would practice in her district. Everyone, my best friend in that band lived in that district. I would sleep over that house, hang on the streets, frequent the restaurants there to this day. I can see why it's difficult for her. But I still wish she would come out. I don't think it would hurt her. And Ryan says, Brooks just started a live stream. Doing you dirty, Matt. Did he really? I don't believe it. Did he really? I'm going to look this up. If he started a live stream while I'm still streaming, I go out of my way for that guy to not have my show on a Tuesday. Oh my God. Michael Brooks will be doing a short live stream on the Bernie 2020 in a few minutes. I'm jumping in on this. Oh, it was really short though, it looks like. 280 views. That motherfucker. That piece of... Nah, it's alright. He didn't do it for long. I get it. It's cool. Although it is really funny. The feud lives on, everyone. The feud lives on. Jay Jaribus, it's over already. Brian says, yeah, he just went live. Ryan says, yeah, come on now. I wouldn't lie to you. Max says, yep, it's 2 minutes. Right. Jesse said, did Matt name his cat? Tom goes, I thought he named it Michael Brooks. I did not. We went through a few names, and it sounds like we are sticking with, even though we still call him Kitty every now and then, we are sticking to the homicidal, suicidal, genocidal Kitty. This is only wrestling fans are going to get this. Let me get my finger in there. Sabu! We're trying to see if Sabu sticks now. We're going to call the cat Sabu. We'll see how that goes. We tried Jasper for a bit. It didn't stick. Again, like I told you guys, we have a fish named Seymour. We got the fish before the cat. The cat looks like a freaking Seymour. But it would definitely confuse the 3-year-old if we had a fish named Seymour and a cat named Seymour. It would definitely confuse the 3-year-old if we changed the fish's name and called the cat Seymour only. The 3-year-old actually still, and for longer, people who've been listening to the show for a while now, know that not too long ago we had to put down our dog Josefa and our cat Milkshake, literally just weeks in between the two. He doesn't really understand what happened to them, and he still talks about them as if they're his pets. He thinks they're still just at the doctor getting better. And he frequently asks when they're coming back. So we can't confuse him with the changing of names of pets who are alive. Just too much. Brian said Michael was on like a minute. He had to jump. You got to jump. That's the thing on Majority Report. I get it. Hashtag got to jump. I was at the live show, Majority Report live show. Oh, I totally forgot to mention it on the stream with Michael. Yeah, I was at the Majority Report live show in Brooklyn. VIP free seats courtesy of that was the chef kiss, by the way. Before someone screenshots that and says I'm doing the white power sign. That was a chef's kiss. VIP seating, complimentary VIP seating, I should say, courtesy of Sam Cedar, for me and my pops. It was a lot of fun. It was a great show. One day, hopefully, there'll be a Doomed live show. Renee says Seymour's a great name. Yes, I know it is. The fish looks like a Seymour too, though, so it works. Thomas says I have a dog named Jasper. I like the name Jasper. It just didn't stick with the cat. I guess he doesn't look like a Jasper. I'm not naming the cat Michael Brooks, Jesse. It's Sabu, S-A-B-U, like the pro wrestler Sabu. Renee says Sam Cedar the cat. No. Max on the talking about now in the feed, the chat stream talking about the child, my kid and our pets. Yes, thank you. That's yes. Max says H. John Benjamin was the best. Yes, the live show was fantastic. It was really good. Maybe a little bit too much of the Tucker Carlson videos, but it was, and John Benjamin joked about that too, but it was great. Wish I could have been on that stage. The tragedy of Matt Binder leaving the Majority Report before Mike Cernovich got Sam fired from MSNBC and put Cedar on the map. Accidentally. Oh well. Womp womp. I guess honestly get a kick at burning myself on that. So I'm a self-deprecator. Renee says Sam Cedar looks like a Seymour. Tom says lots of chefs are assholes. White supremacists are assholes. There's an intersection there, right? Jay Drewer says, when I was a kid, a cop once called me Sabu as he was confiscating my bowl and roach clip. All right, everybody. Oh, Renee's asking my dad about his thoughts about the live show. My dad really enjoyed it. He was the one who was really upset that he missed out on grabbing the tickets before they sold out. I honestly wanted to go, but if I had to miss it, it's not the end of the world. I would have been sad if I missed it. Jesse says Sabu the wrestler is great, but Michael Brooks the cat. The funny thing is, and Red of Bodum says Cernovich could always put you on the map one day. I'm the friggin' idiot who put Cernovich on the map. Go back to when Cernovich first claimed his fame with Gamergate when he jumped in that. He was just a nobody weirdo PUA guy who jumped into Gamergate and was attacking a Neil Dash and Sam Biddle, who was at Gawker at the time. And I'm like, look at this dumbass motherfucker. No way this guy doesn't have a history of being a piece of shit. And I looked back into Cernovich's history and I found all this terrible shit. I got the credit for it too from all the publications at the time. That was in 2015. No, that wasn't in 2015. That was in 2013, I think. I'm just... Renee says, so in a way, you were the guy who sunk Guardians of the Galaxy. That too, yes. I'm taking the credit for that too. I don't want to take the credit for that one, but you're correct. Take two. Cernovich declared Pelosi an alpha today. Cernovich was having a really hard time with Trump today. I loved seeing it, though. Loved seeing Cernovich go against his... What did they call him on Reddit? Again, Sun God, Emperor, Sun God, some shit like that. Brian Arguello, he was just a run-of-the-mill date rapist. Right, I went on MSNBC to tell people about Cernovich back in the day. I warned MSNBC about Cernovich years before MSNBC fell for Cernovich's smear campaign against Sam Seder, which ended up giving Sam Seder a huge audience of people finding out about this story, which thus meant a huge audience of people who didn't know about the Majority Report flocked to YouTube and the podcast. This is part of that resolution, by the way, to self-promote myself and talk myself up a bit more. I'm going for it. I'm going in, everybody. I'm going in. He's going for it. Red of Bodum. Well, he could reciprocate it, is all I'm saying. I was listening to Majority Report today. I usually do catch Fridays. I try to catch as many shows as possible. And I always appreciate when Sam promotes the show. I love him. Love Sam. But I laughed when he promoted the show today because he was like, almost like, oh yeah, and check out Binder's podcast. People in the Michael Brooks Show Discord were like, does Sam not like Matt? He sounded disappointed to have to say that. Sam is just like that. Doesn't spread the wealth, man. Champagne socialist. Renee says, quick, go back in time and leave him in his irrelevancy. Well, some of you might have not found Sam. And then some of you might have not found me. Brian says, if you think Cernovich is taking it hard, you should see Ann Coulter. Oh, I saw Ann. I tweeted to her. I asked her to call Trump a cuck for me. Redo says, maybe you shouldn't have warned them at all. Maybe. Thomas says, and Sam just takes all the credit, right? Kennedy says, who'th laughing now? I can tell you, Kennedy, not me. Not me. Tom says, no one wants to see Ann Coulter taking it hard. I'm going to leave that there. Faye says, is this about the attempt at arson at Comet Ping Pong? Oh, man, Pizzagate just won't die. Thomas says he's constantly gloating about his empire now. Is he really, Thomas? Tell me about this. Renee says Sam Cedar was Matt Bindering about wrestling. Right. The Norwegian says you were ahead of everyone at MR on Gamergate, Matt. I was. And it got me nothing. Norwegian. Theo's Praxis. Maybe you can go back to MR if you defeat Matt Leck in Mortal Kombat. Unfortunately, I don't know if Sam could pay me enough to go back to. Norwegian. Rest of the crew didn't realize the vastness of that subculture. They did not. In fact, Michael made fun of it at first. Renee, Sam considers doomed as his ancillary. I'll talk more about the. I keep going back to Fai's comment about the Comet Ping Pong, Comet Pizza thing or whatever. I'm gonna. It's not. That's Doom's bread and butter. Talking about that type of stuff. So I can't just leave it as a little summary at the end of a live stream. I will go further into that for sure in an upcoming episode. And Thomas with the final comment of the stream. Sam, C. Even Matt agrees. Sam was an office tyrant. He can be. But he's also probably one of the best bosses I've ever had. So, not probably. He is one of the best bosses I've ever had. So, he could obviously have me on MR a little bit more often. Maybe, throw me on a Friday show. Yeah, every now and then maybe. Pretty much almost every other former MR person goes on every now and then. Matt Film Guy. But, it is what it is. We'll see. Renee says Sam is a slimmer jank, and Thomas says we read his lips when the sound was off and the camera was on. I used to love doing that. Sometimes Sam didn't realize the feed was still going. Obviously, if he was doing something that shouldn't have been on the feed, I wouldn't run it. But every now and then, if Sam was talking about how much he's pulling one over on everyone and he really supports Chuck Schumer, that stuff I kept off camera. But, no, all right. Devil You Don't says Sam Cedar is complicated and can't show emotions or something. All right. Well, somehow the live stream is going up in viewership. I'm happy to see that. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, everybody. If you're not already Patreon listeners, thank you for being subscribers. People on the live stream, if you're not, patreon.com/MattBinder. Paying or not, iTunes review, please. Folks, see you all next time. Max says Garofalo was on not too long ago. Well, I'm not in Garofalo's class. I get that. Please. See you all next time on Doomed.